All right, so we're asked to graph the solution of this inequality, and this is what's known as a compound inequality because there's two inequality symbols. And you may also recognize that compound inequality that's written this way is what's known as an and compound inequality. There's and compound inequalities and there's or compound inequalities, and only ands can be written like this. If it was an or, you would have two inequalities and you'd have the word or between them. All right. Now, why is that important? That's important because if you know that, you may also know that when you graph an and compound inequality, it looks like A and B. This is what the graph of an and looks like. C and D are what the graphs of or compound inequalities look like. So if you know that, you know the answer is going to be either A or B. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this up into two separate inequalities separated by the word and then we're going to solve those two inequalities. So let's do that. So I'm going to rewrite it over here. I have -4 less than negative times x plus 3, and that's less than or equal to 2. And so to break this up, what I'm going to do is so I'm going to put like little brackets here. This is going to be one of my inequalities. So -4 less than or equal to negative x plus 3. And in fact, I'll go ahead and write that down. So -4 is less than negative x plus 3. And I told you this is an and, so I'm going to put the word and between these two things. And then the other one, let's see, let me change colors. The other one here is going to get split like this. So negative x plus 3 is part of both of these inequalities. So the other side here would be negative times x plus 3 is less than or equal to 2. So the middle piece here between the inequality symbols goes with both of the inequalities. So you can see it here and here. And that's how you split this up. Again, only and compound inequalities can be written like this. If it was an or, it would look like this with the word or between it. All right, so now all we're going to do is we're going to solve each of these. And so let's start with the one on the left. The first thing I'm going to do is distribute this negative sign in here. And so that leaves me with -4 is less than negative x, and that becomes -3. That negative sign, by the way, it's like -1. So I'm distributing a -1 in there. And so there I have that. And so let's go ahead and solve this one out, and then we'll go over to the next one. So the next thing I want to do is add 3 to both sides. So you can see I'm using the same steps that I would use if this was an equation. So that goes away. I have -1 is less than negative x. And now right here, you got to be careful. I told you that this is pretty much like solving an equation. One of the differences is when you're solving an inequality, if the variable is being multiplied or divided by a negative, then you have to flip the direction of the inequality. So the x here is actually being multiplied by -1. So I'm going to have to change the direction of the inequality. And so let me show you what I mean by that if you don't understand. This is -1 times x, so I'm going to divide by -1. And so that goes away. -1 divided by -1 is just 1. And then I'm going to flip the inequality. And so I get that. And so that flip part is really important. And that's really the only difference in solving an inequality versus solving an equation. So I have x is less than 1. And now let's go do the other one. So basically the same steps. I'm going to distribute here. And so I end up with negative x minus 3 is less than or equal to 2. I'm going to add 3 to both sides plus 3. That goes away. So I'm left with negative x is less than or equal to 5. And again, here I have a negative with the variable, so I'm going to have to flip the inequality. And again, there's a 1 there. So I'm going to divide both sides by -1. That'll cancel out. And so I have x. And again, I'm going to flip the inequality. So don't miss that piece. That's important. So flip the inequality, and 5 divided by -1 gives me -5. If you want, back on this one I did in red, you can flip this around. I could rewrite this as x less than 1 to have the variable on the left side. And so my graph is going to be x is less than 1 and x is greater than -5. So we already said the answer is either A or B. Now, the other thing I have to mention is you see that you have these open circles and you have closed circles. So how do you know the difference between that? Well, if you have greater than or less than as your inequality, then that's an open circle. If you have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, so it's got the line underneath it, then that's a solid or a closed circle. So x less than 1 is going to be an open circle, and it's going to be shaded to the left. So x is less than 1, an open circle. Both of these have that. And it's going to be shaded to the left, which both of these are. Okay? A little trick for knowing which way to shade. If you have the variable on the left side, then this you can think of like an arrow, and it points which way to shade. So it's pointing to the left, you would shade to the left. Or you can just recognize it's saying x is less than 1. So where are the numbers that are less than 1? They're to the left. And then, so the x greater than or equal to -5, this one's got a line under it, so it's going to be a solid circle, and it's greater than -5, so it's going to be shaded to the right. Again, this is like an arrow pointing to the right, and it's a solid circle, so that tells me the answer is B. So a lot of work in that problem, a lot of chances to make mistakes, but just keep practicing, keep working hard, and you will master the math.